Hey, welcome to the Blerd podcast, the podcast where we have conversations about fatherhood that are unscripted, unfiltered, on everything. That's what we do here at the Blerd podcast. We talk about things from this Blerd's point of view. I messed up the total read on that. See, I've gotten better at reading, but this time not so much. So let's try it one more time. Welcome to the Blerd Dad Podcast, the podcast where we talk about fatherhood in an unfiltered and unscripted way from this Blerd's point of view. I'm your host, Glenn Lawrence, and I'm so happy to be here with you all. And I'm having a baby. I am having a baby. It is imminent. We're at 37 weeks, and this kid is coming. He's coming fast and furiously. And I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's why I'm here talking with you fine folks, trying to figure it on out. This week, we've got a crazy good episode, and I can't wait to get to it. But before we do, we always got to pay the sponsors, and the sponsors are who we are going to pay. First up is They Made Me Wear It. Check out theymademewearit.com. They're dog stylists for the everyday parent. A husband and wife team. They're on a mission to help dogs discover their fashionable side. Whether it's an awesome Halloween costume, adorable dress, comfy jammies, or a custom designer gown, your fur baby will love wearing the latest fashions. Also, when shopping their store, you're contributing to Hope for Paws. It's an awesome little animal rescue organization that works tirelessly to rescue and save the lives of abandoned animals. So, what are you waiting for? Do your part for humanity. Save those animals and get your dog something cute to wear. Check out theymademewearit.com and use code word blerd at checkout for 15% off the entire store. And if you're watching this, you're seeing the little banner that says theymademewearit.com with the code word blerd there. This is great. We're doing things better now. We're growing as a podcast. We're getting better. We're learning to do more with our platform here. And I've noticed that I have not been the best at talking without saying a lot of ums and ahs. So I'm trying to be better at that. You know, that is the thing that I'm going to do for you all. I'm going to be a better host and performer so that it's a lot easier on the ears when you're listening to. Now, a lot of people wouldn't point out their flaws, but me here at this podcast, the Blerd Dad podcast, that's what we do. We point out our flaws because we're not perfect. And if my kid watched this in the future, I would want him to know that daddy ain't perfect. Daddy don't get it right all the time, but daddy makes sure that he is responsible and takes responsibility for the things he gets wrong. And one thing that I've gotten wrong is not being able to deliver the perfect verbiage to you all when I'm reading these ads and saying these things. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to be on my P's and Q's. The other thing I'm going to be really mindful about is cursing, because it's important to be mindful of the words you say around your kids. Now, I grew up a lot of cursing. We've talked about it before. We'll probably talk about it again, but I think it's probably a good idea to be mindful of that because other kids, see, I said other, but other kids, parents might not have the same idea. And then I don't want my kid to be the ostracized kid because he's out here using all the words, all the colorful words in the English language, because that's all it is. It's a colorful word. But for other parents, I'm going to be mindful of that. And it makes me sound better if I want to get more sponsors. You know, not that They Made Me Wear It as a bad sponsor, but if I wanted to pick up more sponsors, I probably should stop cursing so much. Or maybe I shouldn't. You know, this day and age, you know, a fuck every now and then isn't going to hurt anything. Okay, that's enough of that. This week's episode is pretty amazing. We're going to talk to a good buddy of mine, Boofer T Justice. He's a podcaster and a novice betting aficionado. He hosts the Can't Win for Losing podcast. I had to say that right, because sometimes I'll say can't lose for winning or, you know, get it all wrong. Like I said, I'm trying to be better here. But he hosts the Can't Win for Losing podcast. He's also the father of two boys, and they're 7 and 13. That's very, very important. Not to mention the biggest selling point for him being a guest here on the Blerd Dad podcast is he is, along with his lovely, lovely wife, Gabriella, one of our biggest supporters. So I'm very excited to talk to him about fatherhood and get some advice. He actually gave me one of the better gems that I've heard in advice. So let's get him in here and let's talk to Boofer T. Justice. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, Glenn? Hey, you could have dropped all that stuff. You could have screwed up the podcast name, but you had to drop that on I'm a lemming. I'm a big Glenn Homer at that point.
That's all it is. You know what I mean?
And I notice I'm getting sexy Glenn today. It's all purple.
It's all purple. We're trying to do that. We got the background now. We got the background lighting. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see us with the background lighting.
You should be watching on YouTube and on Facebook. Okay, so let's go back. Let's rewind a little bit here, right? Let's go back to your... So first off, I've watched every episode, obviously, because you've already said I'm a lemming. And a lot of people give me a lot of advice, but I'm going to tell you, a lot of people have been lying to you.
Oh.
A lot of people have been lying to you, Glenn.
Okay.
Everyone, don't worry about your ums. I say it more than you do. It's fine. If you take out all your ums, then you sound robotic, right? If people find you annoying because you're saying ums, F them.
All right.
Let them go.
And also it sounds like you're saying curse. It's fine.
I am saying cursing is fine. And I will give you the primest example. Look, if you raise your child to understand what negative words are and positive words are, then they will understand and gravitate to what profanity they should not be using. So when I grew up, I was not able to say anything that was even close to using sort of profanity. I got in a fight at a bus stop one time because someone called my mom a bitch, and I didn't make it to school. I went back home, and my mom was like, what happened? I said, well, they said bad words about you. And she was like, well, what'd they say? And I was like, well, I don't want to use profanity. And she was like, no, you got carte blanche right now. So she said, and then I said, they called you a bitch. And my mom told me, well, I am a bitch. And I was like, whoa, that dynamic right there changed my whole outlook on everything. And I was like, fuck, I'm gonna call my mom a bitch in front of these people. Like, what? You ain't gonna get me anymore. Yeah. So if you can use it properly, and so after my mom told me that, I still hadn't used profanity until I was 18. As soon as I turned 18, even like a month after I turned 18, I wouldn't say anything. And my mom was like, you're 18, you can cuss, it's fine. I was like, all right. And then I went all out. So I use profanity in front of the kids, not just because I have no other words to say, but the kids have understood that there are bad words and things they're not supposed to do. And what I mention more is negative words, right? So I teach the kids that they're not allowed to use or I hate, or I don't like, or I don't want, anything in a negative context, right? Even the kids, I mean, he can hear me from the other room. If I say any profanity, you'll hear him scream down the hallway, be like, language. And I'm like, all right, calm down, relax. But there's a lot of people who act like you can't cuss in front of kids. That's fine. And you shouldn't probably cuss in front of other people's kids. Depending on where if you're in your own house, do whatever you want. But if you're in someone else's house, yeah, sure, be respectful and show by example to your kids that you're not supposed to be an asshole. But when other people tell you how you're supposed to raise your kids, and using profanity in front of your kids is something that I think you teach what profanity is and that they're not allowed to use it because they can't use it. We were on a walk the other day, and I know I don't want to make it seem like I'm making cicada updates or whatever, but we were doing a bit where us and the two boys, we were putting our arms into a bush that had a whole bunch of cicadas in it. And
For what reason?
Because we're men. No other reason. I mean, Gabby just sat there and looked like we're idiots, but no, we're showing who's the bravest, right? And as they're all looking at the bush, I picked up a little stick that had a dried leaf on it, and I got each one of them. I just brushed it on their neck, and they all flipped out, except for the 13-year-old who yelled out, "What the fuck?" in front of his mom. And those are times where you're proud, and you're like, all right, it was properly used, and nobody said anything. Nobody reprimanded him for using profanity in front of his mom. But you know what? It is what it is. I just, some people are going to tell you things that they are raised, and they think that's the way you should throw your kids.
You know what's crazy right now? I think we might have to restart this because the echo is crazy right now. Do you hear that?
It might be on my end.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that's better.
See,
You son of a bitch.
pro.
You son of a mother.
That's what I do.
You son of a bitch. We had the whole beginning, and I'm sitting over here being crazy, looking around like, wait, what's going on with my situation?
Glenn, I'm gonna do 3 hours on here, and I don't care. And you're gonna do it with an echo. I don't give a shit.
With the echo. You come on here and you ruin things. No, it's fine. Now we got the echo back. I did that whole thing telling people how I wanted to be better and things, I wanted to be better. But I think that part wasn't echoing. I think it started echoing when you came in here. Anyways, we're going to avoid all that. And then we're going to get all the information that you just gave us back, later in the episode. Now you got me. You messed up the whole damn episode.
What are you talking about? This is what you get. You tune in. This is what you see.
This is gold. Now let me once again.
As the kids say, you get what you get, and you don't get upset.
There you go. You get what you get, and you suck a little tit. So listen. Right now, our guest is it Boofer? How do you say it? Boofer T Justice, and he runs the can't win for losing podcast.
Can't say for shit.
Now I'm messing all up. And I've listened to your podcast. I think it's great. I know one of the things that I notice is it constantly makes me say, hey, stop being so mean to Gabriella.
That is true. It is one thing. And it's, I said to Gabby when I was on there, I was like, if it's one thing I don't want to do is feel like I'm mean all the time. But every time I post another podcast, I'm like, there's going to be another level of people just pissed off at me for no reason.
Yeah. It's like I'm listening to it. You know what? The other thing, though, and this is going to sound terrible. It's going to sound like victim blaming. I'm not. Love Gabby. She's amazing. She is such a sweetheart. But she has a very soft voice, so it even makes it sound meaner when you're meaner to her because her voice is so, oh dear, what?
Here's the problem, and I'll throw this out there. When we talk about things and it sounds like I'm being mean, she's actually laughing, but she won't laugh into the mic. And I'm like, God forbid you make this seem funny, or I knock it down a peg so I don't seem like such an asshole.
You know what? It sounds like a domestic abuse.
Oh, whoa. Don't use that. No.
I'm just joking. I'm sorry. No, but like I was saying before, and I think people might have missed it because of the echo. I don't know if people tuned out. Maybe people tuned in. Maybe some people like echo. Auto-tune's a big thing. People like listening to that. So maybe this is the new thing. But one of the things that we were talking about before was cursing. And also we'll get into some of the best advice that you gave me a little bit later, which I'll reveal what that is. But the cursing thing, I totally agree with what you were saying. I think it's a thing that you have to instill respecting your kids, and then you can give them full control of the English language. It helps them understand boundaries. If you just don't allow them to do things, then it's like taboo and they don't understand why and when they should use it. They just know don't do it, and then that makes them want to use it more. And that's how I think about it. I'm like, give them full control and then teach them respect, and I think that takes care of most things.
My mom grew up as a hippie, right? She was completely different than the other side of my family. My grandfather was Army. My step parents, they were all Navy and stuff like that. But my mom was a hippie, so she just just let me be. She let me develop to be in whoever I was going to be, right? But I
can see that,
and she instilled don't be a jerk and all that kind of things, right? But as I've instilled into the kids, I've gone more militant back to, let's go back to militant, kids, because it's better. It seems better. Right. I've installed yes sirs and no sirs and yes ma'ams and all those. And I think that also kind of helps out understanding where you're at on the pecking order, right? Because a lot of these kids these days, and I got people, neighbors, their kids are up to 11 p.m. at night. I'm like, who is running the ship up there? What is going on?
You know what? I love the fact that me and my sister, we were kind of allowed free reign. We were those kids upstairs that were up, super late. But my mom always had us on the ground floor of any apartment that we were in, so we got away with it then.
You got to set the ground rules early, right? So this is we're talking bedtime and stuff like that. So when we put him to bed, the 7-year-old, you'd assume he'd have a whole hissy fit and it's a whole to do. It is not. It is a schedule. We are on it. We are like, it is time. He's like,
We
All
had way
right.
too much energy for that. We had way too much energy for that. Like, and my sister is totally confirming what I'm saying. We were up all hours of the night because we had a lot of energy, but we also kind of understood what was going on. Plus, the thing was, my parents were young when they had us, so they also got a lot of energy. They're up late too, so it's like, it's all cool. And I think the thing with respect took us a long way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think by and large any of these things will mess up your kid. Allowing them to curse, allowing them to stay up early. I think the one thing that will mess up your kid if you don't teach them how to have respect. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And it kind of sounds like what you're saying too. The yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. That type of stuff is instilling respect. It's learning the pecking order, learning where you stand.
And accountability, always accountability. So another thing I put in there, and you can steal this if you want to. I don't order for the kids. They have to order for themselves. If we go to a restaurant or something like that, and then you will be amazed how many waiters come up to me and be like, at the end, they're like, oh, your kid is so well behaved. Like, it is the crazy thing. And I'm like, this asshole is well behaved. This is what you think is good. And I understand what they're talking about. I mean, you got kids that are just running around and, got 2 iPads, one double fisting the iPads and complaining about everything. The internet is too slow. And then, you know what I want? Put ketchup on it only. When we go out, for example, during your baby shower, thank you for inviting us. We made him sit with us actually, we didn't make him sit. We just asked if he wanted to sit, and he sat. You saw how well behaved he was.
He had a great interview, by the way.
But that's how he is. That's how he is in other people. And what I always try to instill is to talk to other people, look people in the eye when he talks to them. He's not that shy kid that will stand behind you and kind of like peek behind like you're a big redwood forest tree. All of a sudden, interaction with other people. He is outgoing all the time. I don't know how you instill it, but whatever we did, that's what we done.
Yeah.
Who's
nice.
awesome? I'm awesome.
Your kid's awesome. That's my sister saying. She was on the baby showers and so she was saying that he's awesome, which he is. He's a great interview. One of the funnier moments in the interview was when I asked him about being a superhero, and he said all the powers that he had, and I said the question was this: if you just saved the day, what day would you want to have your parade, and what would you want the parade to be? And he said, now.
I would immediately, like it now, if you don't mind getting it all together real quick, that'd be cool.
I just saved the day. The mayor's like, thank you so much. We appreciate you, Superman. It's like, what could we ever do to repay you? He's like, have a parade for me right now.
I wish I could remember his answer, but you asked what the villain's name, and he pulled out some great villain name. You're never supposed to give information or give questions you don't remember the answer to, but he gave out a great villain name. I was like, I'm impressed. I'm like, where did you hear that from?
Well, you know what? I felt like it was one of those kids say the darndest things, Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, let's see what he does with this one. And, some kids, they clam up and they give terrible answers, mm-hmm. but his answers were all great. It was the most, to me, it's the most hilarious thing to be like, you just saved the day. I want a parade now.
So on top of that, we allow him free reign, right? Of the whole yard. We let him run around and dig and everything he wants to do. But we
dig.
He's got to get exercise. So
by digging holes.
We also support him in anything he wants to do, right? So to a degree. Come on, relax. You can't do everything. He was there's some things she's asked for. I was like,
listen, a villain who digs holes. We're the trajectory we're going on. It's
look, he's a genius. You need an underground hideout. Nobody puts a hideout in the air. You know where that is. You'd be like,
start early.
Is that the villain's place?
Yeah.
No,
dug it myself.
I bought him art supplies and stuff like that. He's been drawing his own comic books. He just gets into it. Like, he knows what he's doing.
Nice.
He's just got to get a good storyline. We got to get past 2 pages.
Listen, I think the call for an immediate parade, that is definitely a storyline in itself. And then the city's just scrambling to make preparations for, or to thank them for saving the day. So that is that's the 13-year-old, or is that the
That's a 7-year-old.
That's a 7-year-old. What's the 13-year-old like?
They ain't doing shit.
What's the teenager?
He's on his phone all the time. He's ignoring the shit out of it. It's perfect because 13 is about the age you just want them to ignore you because he thinks he knows everything. I'm looking at him right now, see if he's gonna get pissed off but he's all right. He is definitely in the, when I told him I was going to be on the podcast today, he was like, today? I was like, yeah, I said today. And he looked at him and he goes, what are you going to talk about? I was going to talk about you two and how much jerks you are. And he goes, well, all kids are different. And I said, not really.
What a great answer. All kids are different. That's an adult answer.
We just had an argument yesterday how I couldn't tell the difference between Logan and Jake Paul, and he was like, they have different haircuts. I was like, they're both the goddamn same. I can't tell you. They could be a lineup in 10, and I wouldn't be able to tell who they were.
So here's an interesting, I guess, take or point of view or thought. You're into betting, right? You do a lot of betting, talk a lot about betting.
We're getting into Blerd questions already?
Yeah.
It's been like a minute.
No, I mean, well, this isn't the full Blerd question. We'll get to that later. Trust me, we got this thing. Listen, don't come in here and try to run the show, okay? You keep that over in the Can't Win for Loser, which, by the way, I have not been invited to. I would love to be on that podcast because I can handicap a motherfucker. You know
First, hold your horses. I had a defunct podcast called the NFC Beast that I had you on, and
that
you
is
were
right.
Like, these are some professional questions going on. You were unexpected. And I would tell you.
You know what didn't happen in the NFC Beast podcast? I didn't ruin it by giving you an echo when you started. I didn't sabotage your podcast.
The echo was in my headphones, and I nailed it. 0 double echo, killing it.
No, but I think my question, or what I'm trying to get at, is when you're doing something like betting or gambling, it's kind of like some people could view it as a vice. Are your kids are they subject to that? Do you see it? Do you teach them that, or do you like tell them like, okay, kids, this is very bad. It could be very addictive, or do you just kind of like teach them the game, how to handicap things?
They owe me so much fucking money. It's unbelievable. No, the little one doesn't understand it too much. He doesn't really. So we're lucky enough that he's not a sports kid in per se. He's an artsy, wants to sing along and draw and do all the easy after school activities that you don't have to haul him all over the county and do, right? And he just sees the TV and he's like, I already know who it'll be a random game and I'm definitely have something on it because that's why I'm watching it. But I already know who he's going to pick when he sees it, right? It's either the team that has red in it or it's the other team that has more points. That's who he's going to pick. And that's how it works.
You know how you usually win a bet? Pick the team that has more points. That's a good...
Sometimes he comes in, he's like, oh, I like this team. I was like, I know how this team works. They're an early go, and then they fucking just give it up in the end.
Yeah.
I'm a mock you at the end
when it happens,
when your team doesn't win. The older one, he was picking out any animals he likes. So like cat, anything with a cat. If you had a cat in it, it was it. If you had a tiger, even better probably. But
tigers historically aren't very good teams. Any team that picks a mascot as a tiger usually is not winning.
Yeah, like LSU when they won last year.
That's
historically starting from a couple of years ago.
This has been a topsy-turvy couple of years. We're in the upside down right now. Nothing makes sense. The best boxer, right? One of the best boxers in the world just fought a YouTube star. What was going on in this universe?
I don't want to get into that because I was actually thinking about asking you to come on my podcast, talk about boxing. I don't want to get into it.
I have a lot to talk about. I will. I'll definitely come on there. I'll definitely talk about it. I know you don't want to talk about it, but did you watch it?
I did watch it.
Okay. So just give me one thought. What is one thought you had on the fight last night?
Just fucking put him on the floor. Jesus Christ.
Well, he did. Did you see he did like knock him out and then he held him up and then he held him up till he got his feet under him again and they started fighting again.
Yeah, I know. It's just,
He did that for the fans. Everybody's giving him shit. That fight could have ended in round 4 or 5, whenever that was.
100% he was getting paid per round. They said his incentives were going up to $1 million. And I was like, incentives up to $1 million means you're getting paid per minute. So he's going to stretch that out. They went into it's for his health. I said, no, it's for his pockets.
Yeah. I mean, it's smart. It's a smart play. I mean, would you, if right now, they're like, okay, you're a pro podcaster, and we got to put you on with this novice podcaster.
Oh, we got to go toe-to-toe podcasting?
The toe-to-toe podcasting. But we're going to give you millions of dollars if you could keep the conversation going for a little bit longer.
Oh, well, okay, so Gabby knows I can marathon like a motherfucker. I would totally take that. I mean, I'm terrible at it. Who wants to go against me?
Who wants to go against you? No, we do. I do have to thank you though, because you all have been super supportive during the comedy career, coming out to shows, just, you know, always saying kind things, even when I'm like, that didn't feel great, and you're like, shut up, it was great. And I'm
that was Gabby. That was Gabby. I'm like, Glenn, why don't you quit?
Like, someone give them the hook already.
I think one of the first shows that we met, I saw you do crowd work and you killed it. Honestly, these were a whole bunch of drunken frat boys that were just eating it up, and you gave them the CPAP and they went bananas. And then
anytime I give the CPAP, that tends to work out well.
I was like, that guy knows what he's talking about.
As a matter of fact, the CPAP is how we got the baby. You know what I'm saying? That's how the baby came to existence. You know what I'm saying? Anytime I put the CPAP on, it's time to potty. Yeah, but I'll talk about this for a hot second, because you did give a very good piece of advice when you came to.
I don't want to. Before you get into that, because I know where you're going. Do you? What's your best advice? Because like I said, I started off saying these people. I feel like Sway. These motherfuckers are lying to you.
These motherfuckers are lying to you, son.
Or like, this is Maury. I would be like, that. What is it again? That is not the truth. What do you think the best advice you've gotten so far? And
right now?
Yeah. And I will debunk the shit out of this.
I can't tell you because the kid's not here yet. So all of it's just swimming, you know what I mean? And it's gonna come back. But there have been some pretty good pieces that have come out. The one that keeps ringing in my head that I like hearing is take time for yourself.
I knew it.
Make sure that you take time to be okay and to, you know, love your partner and all that type of stuff.
I hate this. You know why
really?
I hate this? Yeah.
Gabriella, what do you think? Since you're listening, do you think he's incorrect in not taking care of himself? And
either she's delayed on the podcast because her hands are not going to that keyboard. I can see it from here. So I think the better advice is not to take time for yourself, but the point is not to be afraid to ignore your kids.
Okay.
Now, here's what I'm saying. And it becomes a thing. I can see her typing away now.
Yeah, it sounds a little mansplaining, but go ahead. I got it.
The first thing you're going to have to deal with is when you get the baby home and the baby's crying and you're not sure what to do, and there's a lot of coddling that happens, right? And the baby, or when you put the baby down to sleep, the baby cries, and a lot of parents a lot of mothers. I'm not saying a lot of dudes are running going, I gotta go make sure the baby's not crying. A lot of dudes would be like, just let him cry it out. We've all heard them. No. Gabriella
is saying you need to take time for the both of you.
She is going to redact that and agree to what I'm about to say.
In case the listeners don't know, Boofer is married to Gabriella, who's also one of our huge supporters and a beautiful person. She has her review show on YouTube, which I just think is really, really funny and poignant, and it's kind of cool. I like it. And she's also on the podcast Can't Win for Losing too. So all right, go continue to shit on your beautiful wife's
I am not here advice. To shell my crap. I'm here to give you advice.
Okay.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. So like I was saying, a lot of people run to go coddle babies and stuff like that. The best thing to do for a baby when they're especially young is just to let them cry it out, let them sleep, just ignore it. Ignore your kid. And then it goes on from there, right? When it gets a little bit older, and you not. I don't know how to say punish or scold without seeming like I'm whipping a kid with a belt, right? Yeah. But I'm just saying, you send to a room and he's just crying. Just let him cry it out. He doesn't need. It's only for attention. While they're young, it's just for attention, and they're getting the attention back. And especially when they get a little older, it's for attention, and you never give the attention back. This is where you end up in situations where you have kids sleeping in your bed in the middle of you two, and they're like 7, and you're like, don't you have your own room? And they're like, oh no, she like sleeping with us. And you're like, this is weird.
Yeah, they got to learn the self-soothing.
Correct. It goes past that, but there are the boundaries that get set, and you have to, and that's what I'm talking about, right? So it's not give time for yourself, but it's ignore your kids, right?
Right.
And then when you do, and it's something I've realized more recently is, and especially when kids get older and he's at the age where the younger one's at the age where he's really catch on to a lot of things, right? He's learning things at a rate that's higher, and he's understanding like these are going to be the memories. This when you get to be 6, 5, 6, 7 is when the memories really start. I mean, you can remember some shit when you're like 3 or 4, but it's like vague and it's whatever. And like I can remember the apartment my parents lived in. I couldn't remember a dinner I had at all. But this is a good
conversation. Nothing. Yeah.
No, nothing. I'm like, I don't know. What are they talking about? That's the funniest thing. I'm like the conversations we have as adults in front of kids are running around and stuff like as we're just drinking wine and beer and stuff like that. I thought my parents were having like, business talk and stocks and bonds and everything like that. You know, they were talking about sex and gross stuff and
yeah, right. No, some parents are talking about that stuff, but not our parents. Like, you know, they're talking about.
Our parents were. It's 100% live.
I don't know what my parents were talking about during those conversations. You know, it's never actually crossed my mind what were the conversations about.
It hit me. I was like, is this what our parents talked about when kids were around?
But here's the thing. I think whatever my parents were talking about during that time was definitely funny because I ended up, you know what I mean? Because you end up mimicking the way that your parents talk or whatever. Well, and I have to say I have a...
Trust me, if they were saying some pervy shit and you started mimicking it and then you were dancing around doing it, they were slapping her knee, 100%. Right. There's no way you were like, sell, 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 and they were funny. There was no way. It was like... And then he walked in on us.
Wait, where are you going before that? You were saying something before that.
So it's not about taking time for yourself, but it's about actually creating quality time with you and the kids, right? So the best example I have right now is that I bought an old Ford truck, right? And one of the things I want to do all the time, especially during the summertime now, is we'll pile into earmuffs over there because we haven't done it yet, is just go pile in the truck and go get ice cream. Right?
Oh, nice.
Like yeah. Just little tiny things. I'm like, shit, not only am I responsible for 2 adults to, you know, survive the evening, right? Make sure they're comfortable in the morning and then feed them when they act like we're jerks and we haven't done that for them yet. I got to make sure that they actually have memories in a child. Like I'm responsible for making childhood memories now.
Yeah. Well, this is a thing that I've been thinking about and worried about because I'm a very much like sometimes I could be impatient, right? And, an experience that I have had that I'm done with, you know what I mean? I don't do that anymore. It's out of my like, ooh, cool factor. The kid is still learning about it. For instance, like, oh, there's a fruit in that tree. And I'm just like, yeah, I see it every year. The fruits bloom, you know, but that to him, if you discount it like that, he's like, oh, then they think, oh, my ideas aren't valid, or I'm just going to keep it to myself. Like you have to exude the same type of excitement when they are excited about something that you've seen 1,000 times.
Yes, until a certain age, right? Until so it's funny you mention that because I'm currently trying to teach the word minutia to the 7-year-old.
Is this in the vein of trying to get him to tell better stories?
This is in the vein of he just loves to tell us everything. It is we give him a Lego set. He's like, look, I'm on step 2. I'm like, all right, tell me when you get to like step 50. Just calm down. Halfway through the book, I'll love to see the progress, but you can't tell me that you've done something after the second frame.
So it's like, don't talk about the minutia.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And the problem is that I don't know if I've taught that's not, It's fine to share your feelings as a child and just be and share your excitement, but you got to also like I can't remember who was it was 2 episodes. I think it was Alan, one of your friend
Chris Allen.
Yeah. Who did an entire podcast in the middle of New York City. He was talking about I just lost my train of thought. I went for the New York City.
Getting old. We're talking about minutia and telling stories and telling good stories and teaching them about.
Fuck.
Oh man,
cut it out.
Just
you get what you get. You don't get.
You think it could be the beer? No.
Not a chance.
No, but what were we talking about? So we were talking about the minutia and children basically bombarding you with a lot of information in their stories and you trying to cut down all that intake because, and then also talking about how sometimes you'll be very interested in something or they'll be very interested in something that you've seen 1,000 times and you're just kind of like, all right, kid, I've seen a pen thousands of times. This is not exciting. And that might hurt their self-esteem.
Here's another good piece of advice. Don't buy toys from the store. Don't be that house that just has toys. Your living room looks like a toy junkyard. Don't be that house, right? Honestly, I only buy stuff that I want to play with. It comes down to that. And you're gonna love it, especially when you're at the age of like, But I don't play with things anymore. Like I used to be a big player. I used to have tons of hoes. No, yeah. I'm joking. You can say that now, but you can't. There's nothing in your mind right now that says I can buy that $200 Lego set until he's 7. You're like, I can buy that $200 Lego set.
I mean, sure. When I was a kid, I used to play Legos a lot. I used to play G.I. Joes. I actually used to bring Barbies in, and I would throw G.I. Joes through the Legos to simulate like an argument like between Lego and Barbie. It's like, oh, I was with Deathstroke, or I was with Duke, and now I'm with Snake Eyes. And then Snake Eyes comes in, is like throwing Duke through the Lego table. But what I'm saying is I got bored of Legos, and I will have to probably rekindle that flame and play with these things now.
Don't act like it's going to be difficult to get onto it.
I do a lot of this stuff. Like, I'm like, this is my fun now. These are my toys that I play with, trying to figure out how to get the echo out of my fucking podcast. This is the fun stuff that I do now.
I feel like I'm doing everything over here and everything over there.
It's like the whole nine.
Look, they got a whole look. I know you're on Marvel and DC. They got a whole Avengers Lego.
Oh, really?
Set. Yeah, you can build the Avenger Tower and everything too.
Oh, really?
It's gonna cost you, but you can build it.
No, you're right. I'm gonna have to rekindle the flame of playing with Legos and stuff like that.
For a cool $250, you can go build the Michael Keaton Batmobile.
I'm gonna try to figure out how to do it cheaper. I know there's knockoff brands. This is the thing. Like back in the day, everybody knows about Transformers, but kids who didn't have a lot of money knew about GoBots, and GoBots were just as fucking dope as Transformers.
I had some GoBots also, but I think these knockoff Legos aren't going to have clutch power on them. And you asked me, what is clutch? And I'm like, okay, here's what I explained, because me and the kid have been watching Lego documentaries. That's the friction that allows the studs and the barrels or tubes, it's called the studs and tubes, to actually click together. Yep.
But that's like a patented way of them doing it that other people don't know about.
The knockoffs aren't allowed to have as much clutch, so they all fall apart.
Well,
it's a Roots album.
Listen,
things fall apart.
But that's kind of good to teach him about impermanence, which I think is another thing that you could learn as a kid. Like, hey man, nothing lasts forever.
They came out there the other day. They're like, we need tape. I said, for what? They're like, we're playing with Legos. I said, you don't need tape for Legos. No.
If you get them the knockoff ones, you do.
Yeah, I definitely do.
The knockoff Legos come with a roll of Scotch tape.
It's the worst. No, buy quality stuff. Don't just go buy shit on sale because it's on sale. That's my best advice. Buy quality stuff.
All right. So you said
100% stuff you want to play with.
You said you were going to tear down the advice to take care of yourself. What do you think about that? Taking care of yourself, you and Gabriella, or Gabby. I'll just call her Gabby for short. I keep calling her by her full name. But what do you think about that? Like going out, having a date for just you two? Because you all did come out to the shows with Sans kids. And it's like, I've been thinking about this to myself. It's like, that's a great time. And I think when I was doing comedy then, I was kind of single and I was out there having fun. I wanted everybody to have a good show. But now I'm thinking about it in terms of me being a dad, right? Like me having this kid, having this responsibility, and not having tons of free time where I could just pick up, go see a show. And then if I go to that show, have it be bad. And I feel like there's like a lot more of a pressure on me to like make these things fun. What do you think about that in terms of like going out on a date and making sure that the date is fun, taking time for your guys' self?
So if you want the date to be fun, don't take Gabby. Because
you're so mean. Gabby, you're welcome to any date me and Stephanie are on. You can definitely third wheel with us.
No, it's fine. It's 100% fine. You're allowed to go out and have fun and do what you want to do. Obviously, but I think when people say take time for yourselves, they think, oh, do the mundane things with the kids, and then hopefully once in a blue moon, like every 6 months, you might get to dress up in a dress and go to some restaurant that doesn't have high chairs or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. That's not how it's supposed to be, right? You're allowed to go out and do what you're supposed to do. You can't go crazy like, you're like you're going to be on Maury, you're like one of those girls that just all the time. But you're 100% go out, do whatever you want to do. You got to get a good babysitter. Your parents in town?
Probably, yeah.
I'm not signing them up, but they are free.
I mean, yeah, they're probably not doing anything. They've got that all out of the system. But I think the thing that we're going to do is we're taking the kid with us to do these shows and stuff. It's going to be a baby in the bar.
Look, if I could get him to tell jokes that would make sense, I would have him up on stage with a mic, and then I wouldn't have to worry about a babysitter. It'd be so much cheaper, and we get paid, and we'd be making money. That's how it would work.
That's the ultimate prop. If you use your baby as a prop, you just bring him on stage.
Like he's got the beginning.
You know what's worse? The only thing worse than that is bringing a guitar on stage. Like everybody hates that guy. The guy you hate next is the guy who brings a baby on stage to like get laughs or awes.
If you have a baby and a harmonica.
Uh-oh, you cut out for a second. Get your internet upgraded. But that's a good idea. I think I might actually do that. I might actually get like the baby on stage for some comedy. I think that'll be I think that'll be key. That'll be clutch to have the baby up there. I tell some jokes and then have him. All right, I stalled for you while you got your internet fixed. What were you saying?
What happened?
I don't know. You froze for a second.
Damn it. I was just saying he's got no end to a joke. Just the middle. It's just the middle part, and it just goes on and on.
Who? Your 13-year-old or 7-year-old?
The 7-year-old.
No comedic timing.
Imagine, oh man, if I could even get that 13-year-old to even step towards the stage, that'd be amazing.
So 13-year-old shy, 7-year-old is like fearless.
Correct. The 13-year-old doesn't want nothing to do with it. He's like, I don't have to do it. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Nice.
What do I got to do that for? That's stupid.
That makes sense. I mean, listen, so there are two facets right here. I'm raising a kid, and then also because my former baby was the comedy, right? Comedy was my baby before, and I was taking care of it. I was nurturing it. It didn't die. That's good. That's a plus, because that was a big worry. And now we're gonna have this other one that I'm raising. This is my new baby that I got to take care of and make sure keep it alive and hopefully have it flourish and prosper, similar to the comedy. I think I can mix those two, though. I think I can.
So what I was going to say is you're going to have to merge those so you can spend quality time with everybody. Mm-hmm. That's the best thing to do.
I think the good thing is me and Stephanie are on one accord, right? Which is hard enough to find two people who have the same type of passion or are okay with having the same type of passion. Going together, you know what I'm saying? So having the comedy, doing the comedy together, it's something that we both share. So now we're bringing in this third party, and that third party is going to have to figure out or be involved in some way. And hopefully that third party is going to like it just as much as Stephanie likes it. So we don't have this thing where it's very weird right? For the kid to be involved in it. You know, the worst thing would be for him to be like, I actually hate this, Dad. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to, you know what I mean, hang out. I want to I want to I want to do my own thing. I want to go play with Legos. So I was just going through a whole rant. If you don't know, on the video stream, Boofer he's cutting out again and again. But he's back again. I think Gabby cut your line because you kept saying mean things to her.
I have a good job and I can pay for good internet, but Verizon says no. We don't care about you.
We don't care about your internet. No, but what I was saying was it's good that me and Stephanie have the same likes, right? We have the same, passion, same drive to do the same thing. But now we're putting in another party, a third party, and wheel. Hopefully the third wheel will enjoy the same thing that we enjoy.
You'd assume it to be that way, right? If you can show that you have fun doing it, they'll just tag in. They'll enjoy it, right? You asked before about like how do I choose for my kid to be like a Nintendo or Sega? I'm like, you can't. It's just you just expose them to everything. You let them choose. He was Sonic for a hot second, and then he was Mario for a hot second. He just flip flopped all over the place, and I'm cool with it. You know what? Be all of it. Be good at everything. Don't just pick one lane and stick in it. Just be good at everything.
That sounds like a natural progression because I had that same, like I was like, I was all about Mario. And then this new cool character, Sonic, came along and he's fast. Mario's slow. I don't want to be a slow Italian plumber. I want to be a fast blue hedgehog.
I don't want to be able to know what's going on the screen. I just want to be confused.
I just want it to be so fast I can't tell what the hell is going on.
Rings are flying all over the place. I think I finished the level. I'm not really sure what just happened.
Yeah, right. But I love it. Has anybody ever told you that you have a slight resemblance to Dr. Robotnik? Just a little bit with the mustache.
A little bit. No, I don't have a flying vehicle, but I'm waiting. I'm close. The problem is I will not go bald. This lock of hair is not going anywhere.
Oh man. But I think I think figuring out that nexus between spending quality time with the boo, my wife, and spending quality time with the kid. Because one thing that we learned from talking to people, another piece of advice, is that there's like actually 4 sets of quality time that you have to spend. You have to have quality time with the kid. You have to have quality time as a family all together, quality time with just the wife, and then you have to have quality time for yourself in the situation. And if you start neglecting any one of those, you could start to kind of fill the fray on it. So it's a balancing act.
That's true. And it's funny because when I spend quality time with one of the boys, it's because I take them to like Home Depot and they fucking hate it. They're like, this is the worst. I said, guess what? You're going to love it. This is what you're going to like. All I want to know is how many more stops. And I'm like, it's about 5 more stops. We got a lot of shit.
You know what's great about that? You take them to Home Depot, and now you have a kid who's digging holes in your backyard, probably to put you in. I'll teach you to take me to fucking Home Depot.
Why you keep asking how tall I am?
How much do you weigh? Man, I don't know.
That is true. And then I think the most important part is that you have to I'm being sidetracked because the 13-year-old's laughing about how tall I am.
You might be in trouble. Look, you're not winning any friends in that house. You've pissed off Gabby. The kids are upset. It could be just a whole. Maybe that's why your internet's getting cut out. They're making plans.
No, it's not about there is. I think the number one thing is getting all together and then trying to find that quality time that way and how you can all do it that way. And then, like I mentioned before, like the putting the kids at a certain time frame, you got to put them on a schedule so they can understand you don't have any complaints. And one of the things we do so we don't get complaints is that we do like a family time, kind of like watch TV. We watch old school Nick at Night TV shows right before we go to bed, or at least before he goes to bed. And then he's got what he wants, and then he knows it's time after that. And that's our quality time together at night. And then sticking to that schedule of like a bedtime that's like 8 o'clock ish or something like that, that then gives you your quality time for yourselves afterwards. Like I said, you can't be like these neighbors up here, got your kids running around at fucking midnight. What the fuck are you doing? These are the people that don't have quality time for themselves. They're just burnt out because they gotta. My kids just running all over the place. You're not doing it.
How do you know? They could be spending extra quality time with their kids. That like they're spending all the quality time with their kids.
They are just walking all over the place. I don't know what they are doing. They're the happiest people of all
Just
time.
because you're upset about it doesn't mean they're not having the time of their lives.
I can hear all the fun through the yelling.
But that does bring up a good point, because you were talking about Nick at Night and teaching them some nostalgia, some things that you grew up with that you're now introducing to them and sharing with them. And this is that piece of advice that I thought was really, really good that you gave. And it's like stair-stepping your kids and introducing them to media, video games, TV shows, all that type of stuff in the order that you were introduced with it, because, you were introduced to it in a certain way. You turned out not so bad. I turned out not so bad. It's like, maybe you should introduce them in the same way. So this would manifest in like first you would give them like an Atari, or, have them play, Pong or Miss Pac-Man, and graduate to a Nintendo, then graduate to a Super NES, then graduate to a Genesis, then graduate. So gradually you're teaching them kind of along the same lines that you learned how to use all these devices or how to use all this media. And I think the same thing might go for movies. You just kind of are stair-stepping them through, okay, let's watch, let's watch the Smurfs before we watch Bambi's mother get killed. You know what I mean? Like you just, and then like before we get to Fortnite and you start shooting people, let's, kick a few turtles down a hallway or down a ladder.
One of the funniest things and the one of the most annoying things that I feel is like, he's like, I want to play these games because they're 3D. I was like, all right, relax. Like, I understand they're 3D, but like, I haven't explained to him that we have, a PS4 and like we can just, it blows his mind with graphics right now, but he's playing Spyro and he just enjoys it because it's just in 3D and it's not a 2D scroller that he just, he does enjoy all of it, but we've got a bunch of stuff over there. I got a PlayStation set up waiting for him to get old enough to play some of these games. He's 7. He can't be playing GoldenEye and fucking, I don't know what other games on there, but there were some other games on there. I was like, these are not Turok. I think it was on there.
Yeah. You don't want your 7-year-old having great aim. That's
100%. We're like, is that got a gun in it? Don't play it.
Yeah, right.
He'll play. So he's got obviously online schooling, and again that goes back to scheduling too. You know what? Let me grab this mic and stuff. You parents talk about these kids are having a hard time with online education. Calm down. This is all they know.
It was a hot take.
You just took them. They had a schedule and they were due. And they had it, and that was going on, and you took a schedule away from it, and you're all running around with your heads cut off, and you're acting like they're not doing well in school.
Right.
Relax. Put the schedule back in place. Do something. Do something. Parent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think so. This sounds terrible, but part of it was good for us all to like kind of sit our asses down and figure out what's important. And I think a lot of people took that time to figure out what's important, not deal with their kids, but actually parent and raise their kids instead of pawn them off on, the school system to figure out, it let us bring a lot of people, bring back, the human interaction in the child-parent relationship, which I think was, lacking to some degree. And now it's getting to where things are opening back up and people are like, thank God I can like pawn them off again. But I mean, I personally am like, I would love to take that time to reconnect with the kid and be like, wait, what are they learning in school? And could I teach this better? Or could it be learned better? Could we, do better with teaching outside of just the school curriculum? And now that I'm having a kid, I'm like, that seems important.
It's not that I'm not saying every parent's like this, but I'm telling you, I know people that are completely on this way. It's like their mindset is like, I have to deal with my kid now. Like, yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, you had him.
You had him, you got him. He's in the other room. Deal with him. And this is,
you know what I think? Whenever somebody says, is like, I got to deal with my kid. It's like, that feeling of euphoria when you busted a nut, when you came. Just go back there and think about your kid like, like such a great relief. Think about that, like have associated with positive feelings instead of like, I hate this child.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube now, can you?
Yeah, right. Although that might be weird if they're thinking about I'm thinking think of the euphoric moments, you know what I'm saying, and how to interact with your child.
But this is my point, is like, just because you got to stay in the same house with your kids and you feel like you have to deal with them now, like they're all their daily that they got to go through. I mean, this is the point I'm talking about. Like these are the times and situations you're supposed to come together and realize that I'm the person that's making everything happen, right? I'm the person giving this kid memories, right? Are you going to sit there and just ignore your kid? I've already said it's okay to ignore the kid, right? But only in certain situations. Don't get annoyed because your kid has to stay home. That should be the exciting part. Gabby has a job where she works near where the school is, right? And they commute together and they have that time together. That goes on to your, you have to have quality time between you and the kid, right? And she gets that time. She gets that time on the way home and the way to work every day.
What's going to be interesting is that kid is going to grow up, and as I'm older, I realize how fleeting time is and how like this is the last time that I did X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, this was like the last time that I was living at home with my parents and like sitting down at dinner. And sometimes you kind of just forget it. You take it for granted. You have so many of those moments that you don't realize like, oh, that was the last time I did that. And I wish I would have like taken a mental note or cherished that mental memory. But that kid is, while they're in the car with you, it's kind of the same thing. They're building those memories. And at a certain point, it'll be the last time that she's able to drive him to school. And it'll probably end and just take the bus today. And you don't realize like, oh, those are the last moments that I was spending with mom every morning.
It's going to be the worst. I'm going to have to drive that day because she's just going to be crying the whole time.
If she's aware of it. I mean, it might just happen and she's not even aware of it.
Trust me, this kid is telling us, he's countdown to everything. I got 62 more days till my birthday. He's going to tell you when the last day of school is.
He's like 32 more days till we bury you.
But to the same point, I was thinking about that for you the other day. I was like, these are the times where Glenn's going to have where he's just a couple with Stephanie, right? They're just going out doing things. They're just, oh, we got to go to the store. Let's just run to the store real quick. It's going to, you got what, like 3 weeks or something like that? Is that what
2 weeks. It's imminent now. Now it's basically any day now.
It just erupt any minute. This is it. These times, anything you're going to say, let's do this one more time before we have a kid or anything. Don't even worry about doing shit like that. Because this time now that you're going to have this whole, you've been living together for what, 2 years now, 3 years?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Throw it out of the window. You're going to forget these times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've done it.
You're going to have the kid and you're going to be 5 years down the road. You're like, oh, I can't remember ever a time without this kid sitting here annoying the shit out of me.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I know for a fact that there are times when I'll look at her or she'll look at me and we'll be like, man, this is like a really great moment. You know what I mean? Like, and we kind of take a mental note, like the other day we were doing something like getting the oil change on the car and we went to go get these burgers and they were really good burgers. And we kind of just like stopped and was like, man, this is like, a great moment where we just enjoy a great meal and we're just like sitting here by ourselves, not doing, anything. And, we're eating these great burgers in a parking lot. And it's like, this is what it's about. We're really kind of enjoying our time together, but taking a mental note of like, this shit is not going to happen very much more often.
It will. You'll have the exact same moments. The only difference is you'll just have some kid going, these are terrible hamburgers. I don't like these. And you're like, these are the best hamburgers on Yelp.
I mean, it'll be very interesting. If the kid is anything like me, I was a very annoying child. And I just, I know that if he's anything like me, he is going to purposely annoy me. Like, not like inadvertently, oh, I'm just saying things. Dad's getting really annoyed. It's going to be like, no, I want dad to be annoyed. What obnoxious song? Because I remember this. Me and my sister, we would sit in the back seat and we would take turns. Like, I would sing an obnoxious song, and then when I stopped, my pipes were too tired. Then my sister would pick up and she would start singing. So we were like, it's a crescendo of annoyance, and we're just having the time of our lives. And our parents are being absolutely quiet and probably just wanted to strangle us the whole time.
No, I'm at the point now, I'm singing Green Day, and the kid's looking at me like he has no idea what I'm talking about. I'm like, all right, that's cool. But guess what? It's one of the greatest albums of all time, and you're about to learn it.
Wah, wah, wah. All right, so check it out. Here at the Blerd Dad, one thing that we do that is very interesting, instead of having a burning question, we have a blerding question. You know, so today's blerding question for you, Mr. Boofer T Justice, which, by the way, is a dope ass name, by the way. You should definitely solve crimes of some sort or help people who are in need. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll give you a fun fact. I actually did go to college for a hot second because I was at a point in my life, I was like, you know what? My mom said I could be anything I want. Let's see if that's a thing. I went to go to school because I was like, I want to be a private investigator. And I took all these criminal justice classes, and I realized that I'm not good at criminal justice. I'm just better at debating.
Okay. I thought you were going to say you went to school to be B.A. Baracus. I went to school to learn to be Mr. T.
Couldn't get the haircut right.
Yeah, right. And the chains were a little bit expensive.
Yeah, quarter Ford chains.
All right. So the blerding question for you today, sir, is if you could give your boys a stat line, because you're into betting, right? If you could give them a stat line for their life, what would it be? Start with the 7-year-old.
A stat line. You mean some sort of
yeah. So line? Like, okay, in his life, he's fixed 3 cars and owned 6 something. What do you envision their stat line for life being? He's had 3 wives and.
I got you.
Whatever.
So I was going that direction. We're going by 21 over under on girlfriends. Has got to be like 15. 15 girlfriends by 21. Yeah.
That's the 7-year-old or the 13-year-old?
He's the 7-year-old. He's a little charmer. Like, we went to a wedding and he was just dragging girls onto the dance floor at like I think this was like at 5 years old or something like that. Or maybe younger, maybe have been like 4 years old. Literally just going and just grab adult women, just dragging them on the dance floor.
Nice. Live
band. He loved it.
Over, how did they feel about it? I think that's the one thing we should focus on. Like, hey, buddy, make sure that they're...
Is that guy sending his kid over to... Oh, wait, he's with someone. Okay, yeah, it's cool. We can go dance.
So wait, the over under is 15 girlfriends, right?
Yeah, by 21. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What about the 13-year-old? Give him a stat line for me.
Looking right at him, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. You know what? How about just the prop bet of I keep telling him he's gonna go to Clemson and he doesn't believe it, and I say it's happening. You know what? Clemson, yes or no? I give yes a minus 300, and a no is about plus 150, 175, something around there. Nice. It's funny. We were watching college football last year, and he kind of glamored on the Clemson, and he didn't know it. It's one of those things where when you're young, he doesn't understand it, but it's like. It's when you're younger and you see a team or something as young, you kind of gravitate towards it, and you don't know why. But later in life, you keep gravitating towards that. I think he might actually go to Clemson.
Do you think it was Trevor Lawrence's hair?
It was no. It was just the kitten paw on the side of the helmet. I'm telling you, it's stupid.
It could have been the attractive quarterback, which like that guy, he's an All-American.
He won't be there when you get there, but those helmets will be there.
Will Clemson be there when he gets there? Because these colleges are in trouble after the pandemic.
He looked at me and goes, "What, is that a good school?" I go, "Yeah, I think it's pretty decent." He's like, "Yeah, for sports." And I go, "I think they have good academics." And the 7-year-old goes, "What's academics?" And I go, "Oh, we're not teaching him anything."
It's like, he got fired from the Joe Budden podcast. Oh man. Listen, this has been
I mean, I could do another 2 hours.
No, we could talk for a very long time about a lot of things, because honestly, I still don't know if I have a full handle on everything that is about to transpire with this kid. I know that it's imminent, and it's I don't know, like it's that anxiousness of like your life is about to change forever, and you don't know how, or you know what I mean, like
there's an excitement brewing, and you're packed like you go to the beach, but you're not gonna see the sun for about 24 hours.
Yeah. So it's weird, it's this weird thing. And a lot of people told me like the weird thing is when you're on the other side, it becomes like, how did I like live without this person who is now super important in my life that I, that everything is kind of the focus of,
your job right now is making sure you're alive and keeping Steph happy, right?
Yeah.
And then both of you are just going to focus right on this kid, and that's all it's going to be. And it's going to be weird to be, you're not going to be the center of your own attention anymore. It's crazy how it is. Like,
well,
you're going to be 100% responsible for something else other than you.
You know what, though? You know what's good? I've kind of baked in that I kind of do have to be the center of attention since I'm, as a comedian, it's like, listen, guys, if you don't pay attention and I don't make these jokes funny, none of us eat. So...
Look, you gotta put up you can be the headliner, right? But just put the first act up when you get somewhere. Just show the baby off, and and once they get tired of that thing, just start digging in.
So, then I can mail it in. But I can't wait to get back to doing live shows, which is also going to probably take a while because we're going to be raising the kid. But I do think, like we said, we don't plan on excluding him from that part of life. So if you integrate somebody into that part of life, then you're not missing out as much because then it's the family thing. It's like, and his memories will be, gathering up the stage and doing all the just kind of like, someone who has a farm and they work with their dad at the farm. He might grow up hating it, but he might grow up loving it and want to be a farmer himself. You're
just going to end up growing up to be your buddy, Jim, what's his name?
Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically. Who does both comedy and farms.
Yeah, correct. So. It's just, I remember I was young, packing up our Partridge bus full of stage and microphones and stuff.
So, the other thing that's really interesting to me is your podcast. And we didn't talk about it a lot, but I gave it a few listens. I did actually take some of your advice and I placed some bets. I lost all that money. What? And there were some stingers in there. No, but it's, what I noticed that's really great. The advice on the bets may not be great because you're always down units. Every time I listen in, you're like, I'm down 30 units, which I didn't know. Like maybe that's like 30 units is a bet. Each bet you win or place is a unit.
Correct. So I've explained this to the 13-year-old. He kind of understands it. And this is kind of where you explain it to a kid. So, this is how you talk betting with other bettors, right? But I explain it to the kid. That way the kid doesn't think that I'm just losing all the college funds, right? You have a certain amount of money that you bet with, and then you decide how much percentage of that entire bankroll that you have is how much you want to bet, right? So usually it's about 1% to 2%, but maybe 1.5%, something like that. And then that percentage will be your unit size. So that's how much you will place. So if you had $100 and I had 100K, we could talk shop the same way on saying unit sizes as opposed to saying I'm going to bet 10 grand on this and you're only like, I'm going to bet $10. You know what I mean?
I'm fighting the urge not to make a unit joke. Go ahead, continue.
Trust me, your bankroll isn't big enough to have.
See, you stole the thunder.
Well, I'm sorry. So that's how I have the kids thinking about it when I talk about. I never talk money to the kids. There's never a worry about. It's only the amount of units I put on something. Like, you put 2 units on it, and they were just worried about a unit size at that point, not worried about actual money.
Yeah, they're too young to worry about unit size right now.
No, but if I told him actual money, how much it was, he'd get a little bit nervous. He's like, you put that much money on it? I'm like, don't worry about it.
It's only a couple units. Yeah. That's interesting. It's a way to equalize things when you're in the sports betting world. You just say, yeah, it's a couple units. Okay. That's it. I thought it was like if you made 2 bets, that's 2 units. That's what I thought. But that makes a little bit more sense.
You can make I'm not going to show that one. I'm trying to show.
Are you trying to show your good calls?
Yeah. I mean,
I know you called the Lakers winning. Didn't you call the Lakers winning?
It's green as S. I mean,
okay. All right.
I don't know what day you listen to.
I listened to a couple of the more recent ones, and the NBA's been kind of wacky, with the Knicks and the Lakers and all that type of stuff. So it's been kind of hard to call, and then there's been a couple injuries or whatever. So I give you a pass.
So the funny thing about the Knicks is the Knicks were a first half team for the season. Like you could just bet first half Knicks all the time and just cash in on it. Once they got into the playoffs and they started playing Atlanta, those teams don't really know each other. Not even a good rival team, but to each other. So they didn't know how to figure out Atlanta. Betting Atlanta first halves just started paying off. I was like, all right, I'm just ride this.
Put all the units on it.
Don't put all your units. It's terrible betting advice. Don't do that. One is fine.
But one thing that I will say that I really enjoy about the podcast, and don't blush, is your voice. When I'm listening to it, I'm like, I can hear this guy giving out unit advice, on the radio or something. It's you sound good. Like whenever, just go, as a matter of fact, go through a couple calls on your phone. Just be like, all right, I better because give the people an example of your voice when you do this, because I think it's dynamic. I think it's pretty good.
It's funny because Gabby thinks this is the most boring part of the podcast is when I start going through kind of.
No, I definitely check out because I have no idea what you're talking about. But I do think it sounds like I'm driving to work and listening to sports talk radio. It's like, oh, okay, All
right, you ready? Thursday action. WNBA. I had the Dallas Wings versus the Atlanta Dream. I had the over 167. See, this is where a lot of ums come in, and I'll cut them out because
don't worry about it. It's fine. It sounds great. You're right. It doesn't matter. It's good.
95, 105. That's 196. That's a win. I don't have my little ding.
Oh, do you need a dinger? Hold on. Let's see if I got a dinger for you.
I don't think you're gonna be able to hear mine.
You got to get a bigger unit if you want to hear the dings.
You didn't hear that. I hear it on my computer, but I didn't hear it through there. NBA action on Thursday. Denver Nuggets visiting the Portland Trailblazers, taking the over 127 or 227. I'm sorry, I always say 1 instead of 2. 120 to 115. That's 235 if you're counting at home. That's a win in my book.
Ooh.
There you go. Winner, chicken dinner. Yeah, I don't know why you want me to do that bit.
I like the bit. I don't know. I don't know if other people got the same type of enjoyment that I'm like, it sounds really good. You sound like you could be on the radio. I'm like, okay, it sounds solid.
That only took about 100 episodes to figure out how to do that properly. And I'm still umming and awing over it. Although I didn't feel like I was supposed to be doing it. I pre-read those and everything.
Do you really?
They're not. I pre-read what my... through the week, I put down what my scores were and what won and what little notes of what might have happened or anything like that. And then I kind of pre-read it through before I go through, so I'm not surprised and shocked, because then you'd hear exactly what I just said. Just
right.
Ummed and and not.
Well, so here's the other interesting thing. Back in the day, I used to do fantasy football, and for the fantasy football league, I was a nerd. As the name of this podcast, I was a Blerd, and I would actually handicap, and I would write, how ESPN has power rankings? I would write power rankings for our entire fantasy league.
I'm okay with that.
And then it was great. People loved it. They would look forward to it coming out, like on the Tuesday after games. And I had a lot of fun doing it. But then I noticed that the people were using that advice, and then I would lose games because I gave out good power ranking advice on how to better your team or where your team sucked. So, but it was a fun little exercise in creative talent or whatever. And it was a fun way to expend some of my creative energy before I found comedy.
I played fantasy football for 2 years. I lost one game. I quit because it was just taking up too much time.
It takes so much time.
I was at work not paying attention to work. That's how much time.
I mean, that's America. Like, no one pays attention to work here.
February 3rd, I was at work going, oh shit, what am I going to do today? I don't have any football to look at. Oh, I guess I must work then.
Yeah, right. Might we get some work done here? Yeah, man. It takes a lot of time to do something like that, but it was fun. But it's kind of the same thing you're doing when you're like handicapped. So once you start going through and you're writing something like that, you could definitely just understand how to bet on games or whatever, because you know who's injured, you know who's angry about their contract, and just you're a lot more tuned in. You know what I mean?
That's true. You'd think you'd know a lot more of the players, but you don't really, unless you have to be really hardcore. The fantasy is when you really start getting into players and what they are. I check the lineups for the day, and I go, oh, is a superstar out? Okay, I can't make a prop bet on the superstar today. That's about as far as I go. Once you start getting too far into like player stats and stuff like that, we're talking about fantasy NBA, and fantasy NBA is just way too much for me. I played it 1 year and I had no idea how to win, I didn't know how to do. I was like, okay, I quit. I quit. Like every day. Oh, I forgot to set my lineup.
Yeah, right.
Three.
Well, because when does the fantasy basketball season or week start?
Who effing knows? All I know is injury reports come out at 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m. or something like that, depending on if they had a day before that.
3 times a day?
Yeah.
Bill Belichick would not make it in the NBA.
Because you have 3 time zones, I guess, is what's going on, or 4 time zones or whatever it is.
That would be ridiculous. Hey, wait, does Gabby want to say hi?
You know what? Gabby just stepped out on official show business for a hot second.
Oh, okay.
She's unavailable at the moment.
Look, man, as from one podcast producer with a wife on the team to another podcast producer with a wife on the team, I commend you. This is fun. I think it's cool to do something like this with your partner.
Yeah, it's the dynamic between us is kind of crazy. She still doesn't understand sports betting too much. It's been a lot of episodes and I'm still explaining it to her on the fly. It's really, I don't know what's going on. It's funny. We were having a conversation during the Jake Paul and Logan Paul thing, and I mess them up on the podcast all the time, and she is correcting me like I'm an idiot. And then we were sitting there watching the fight, and she's like, isn't it just Logan Paul that fights? I go, no, it's both of them. They keep flip-flopping back and forth. She goes, oh, I thought it was just one of them that fights all the time. I go, yeah, now you feel how stupid I feel because I can't figure out which one's doing what at any time.
Well, I'll tell you this. Logan Paul, if he could fight people that are undersized, he has a good chance.
He's got a good chance.
Yeah, just like it was funny because Floyd did knock him. He basically he rung his bell pretty good, which a lot of people see. Here's the thing. Okay, I wasn't supposed to get into it, and I'm not. I'm just gonna say if Logan Paul had to fight people at the same weight class as him, he would lose every fight.
Murdered in a second, no problem.
Yeah, but he's not bad. You know what I mean? He's not bad, but he doesn't have years of boxing experience. He doesn't have the chin. You know what I mean? Of a boxer who's been doing it for.
I thought he had a decent chin, right? The problem is, I thought it went after that first round. He just sweating buckets. There's no way I felt he was going to last any further.
But you saw it when he came out throwing that first flurry. It's like anyone who's done combat sports before. I've done a little bit sparingly. By no means am I a fucking martial artist or a master boxer or any of that shit. But I have been in the ring before. I've boxed and I've fought before. I've sparred, and I know that first round you don't throw. Like it's a common thing. And I think he just got hyped in the moment. He probably knows that a little bit more. I think he was goading people in his little training videos where he's throwing these like weird little looping hooks and stuff like that. I think he was just fucking around because he actually did have some pretty good form and he protected himself fairly well in that fight, which was surprising. But he's nowhere near as skilled as he would have to be to fight in his own weight class.
and I know it's for TV, but there's no way his brother's on the sideline really believing that his brother's up 3-2.
No, you can be delusional. Well, they can definitely be delusional, bro. Yeah.
Is he
100%.
turned around? I didn't understand what was going on. Was he watching the same fight we were all watching?
No, he was. He's just delusional, just like all of them are. So we've done a long time here, and we could do more and more, but we're going to start getting into topics that we're going to talk about on your podcast, the Can't Win for Losing podcast, whenever you decide to have me on.
Wait, no. We can do another hour and a half, and I'll start keep trashing these kids.
Just keep You came out hot on the kids. You're like, these kids are idiots.
Yeah, I mean, don't believe that your kids are smart just because they got more time on the iPad than you do. You got to go and work. You got to make a paycheck. They are just sitting on the couch doing nothing. Of course, they're going to understand it better than you are. That's another thing. I mentioned that we go to restaurants and stuff like that. The kid doesn't touch the phone. The kid knows not to ever touch my phone. He doesn't have his own phone. He doesn't have a tablet. He doesn't have anything. I gave him a laptop. He screwed that thing up. But
you treat him like a side piece. Don't touch my phone.
Like he's not allowed to touch our phones when we go out to a restaurant. We don't just throw a phone at him. If there's ever a point where we just need him to do something, we give him a book. We don't give him tablets. That shit doesn't fly with us. That's
we will sit in uncomfortable silence in this restaurant.
No, you will learn, and then you order your food when the waiter gets here, and then you know what? You're lucky. I'm paying.
It's hilarious. All right, so give me a final last word of advice.
Shit. I'm looking at. I'm trying to get inspiration. I know you can't hear me. You're gonna get frustrated with a lot of shit they say. There's. I'll tell you this. If there's one thing I'm trying to teach the 7-year-old right now is that it's unacceptable to say I don't know, and it's 100% acceptable to say I don't know. And I need you to say these at the proper times. When I'm yelling at you or I'm telling you to do something, and then you're blank staring at me, and I ask you to tell me what I just told you, and then you just start making up S because you just didn't understand what I'm saying, that is the time you're supposed to tell me I don't know. I will accept that. I don't know what you just said or what you told me to do. Please tell me again. 100% acceptable. When I ask you some other question and then you're just making up stuff, you're just making up random numbers, or if you honestly don't
like
know
what's the square root of 9, and it's like
don't try to fake it till you make it. That doesn't work. Just say I don't know. It's okay to say I don't know. But if I barge into your room because something loud happened and I go, what happened in here? And you go, I don't know. It's unacceptable. It's very confusing for a 7-year-old, but it's something I'm really trying to instill in it.
So your advice is I don't know is a completely unacceptable and a completely acceptable answer. And it's up to you, child, to figure out which is which.
You see my face, you should understand what kind of situation we're in, and you should be able to decipher if I'm happy.
Look at my face and tell me if I don't know is going to be an acceptable answer to my
questions. Do I look happy has been a thing I've said many a time. It's funny. Also, do what you want to do. You can take guidance from other people, but you're going to end up. I know your mom's going to give you a lot of advice. She doesn't need to at all, because for some reason you're already programmed to do exactly what she did. I think the first time I realized that happened was I was upset about something and he was crying, and I said, if you want something to cry about, I give you something to cry about. And I was like, oh, that's what that shit means. Like my mom used to tell me all the time, and I was like, I don't know what you're fucking talking about. But it was the minute I said it, I didn't think I was going to say it. It just came out of my mouth. I was like, oh, and a light bulb hit.
It's like pre-programmed. All the advice is pre-programmed.
You sit there and you're like, I'm going to be nothing like my parents. And then next thing you know, COVID hits, you've got titties now. You're just like your mom.
Well, there you go. There you go. Go ahead and tell them where they can find you at. Where can the people find you? How can they get in touch with you? And what can they expect?
Glenn, thanks for tuning and listening to another fine episode of the Blerd Dad podcast. Also, a special thank goes out to special listeners like you. If you're new to the show, smash the subscribe button and go ahead and share it with all your friends, all again, Glenn's friends, everybody listening on the stream. We're located everywhere. We're on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, it's the same place, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Amazon. We're located everywhere. And if you haven't already, you can follow us at CWFL Podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Glenn, where's all your stuff at?
Oh, I love that.
Do you have any of your stuff?
Yeah, it's good. My stuff comes popping up there too. You can find me at Glenn Lawrence Comedy on Facebook and IG. Twitter, Glenn Lawrence Laughs. Guinea Mac 25 is the @ for that, but that may be changing. But if you go to Glenn Lawrence Laughs, you're going to find me on Twitter.
I'm not saying that you need to hot brand your podcast here, but I think you're gonna.
You know what? You're probably right, but it's like another step. Listen, we're a 2-man team, and we're doing a lot here because we have my specific comedy brand for myself, also the Level Up comedy brand for doing shows and things on YouTube, and then we had the podcast that we're doing and whatnot. So it's like, all right, we got to take things slow. We got, there's only so much we can bite off unless we could get some interns. Although interns aren't a thing anymore. After the pandemic, nobody's trying to work for free.
Nobody. Not a damn.
No one's trying to work for free.
Checks. I don't have to do shit for them.
It's like, yeah.
They were talking about we're going to reinstate people having to actually search for jobs to get their unemployment. And everybody's shocked. I was like, what are you talking about? That was how it was before. Why does it take anything to flip the switch back on and be like, you have to search for jobs now?
Yeah, it's a crazy time. But I think the thing that's crazy is
it's a crazy time. It's not a crazy time.
It is a crazy time. Here's the thing. I think to shut everything down, and then I think they gave out some services, but they didn't do a lot to help us get through this time. You know what I mean? I don't know. Do you think they did a lot, or do you think they could have did more, or do you think they did a lot to help us get through? Like, where do you fall?
Every time I leave a job that makes me available for unemployment, I collect it because I paid into it. I collect from it. That's fine. It's very easy to collect from unemployment. All you have to do is act like you've applied to 2 jobs. All you have to do is Google or go on Craigslist for 2 seconds and find jobs and apply to it and send it. Say that's where you went. It's not hard. It's
right.
Literally you're supposed to get a job. You're supposed to put out a resume 40 resumes a week. That's supposed to take you an hour of searching. It's supposed to be a job. Of searching for a job. It's supposed to be 40 hours. And all you have to do to get unemployment is send 2 out. I mean, stop acting like it's a difficult thing to send out 2 emails in a week.
It's not very difficult at all.
It's not at all. And then when people are complaining about, I got to start sending out, just do it. I don't mind. Look, take the unemployment. I'm fine with it. It's okay. Just send out the emails. It's just 2 emails.
It's 2 emails a week. And here's a secret. They're not really checking if they actually email the people.
They'll spot check and they'll be like, did this person apply? They'll be like, yeah. Did you get him an interview? Yeah, but he declined. If you don't tell him that you declined a job, you might get a little bit of trouble there.
Oh, well, see, I don't know how any of that goes. I've been fortunate enough not to have to deal with it. But apparently from everybody that I talked to, it's a shit show. I don't know why. I don't know how. But it's a shit show, basically. But hopefully we're out of it soon. We'll start hiring. I mean, they're going to have to increase some of these salaries or whatever. I'm going to have to hire somebody and to get them to do some of the stuff because it's beginning to get unwieldy. There's a lot going on here.
You let me know when you hire someone.
Wow, you want to get dibs on? You want to get some of that action?
Throw some work your way.
Throw some work in there on their dime. Hey, man, you cover the benefits and I'll cover the salary.
That's it. That's cool.
You heard it here first. We made a deal. This is the first cross podcast deal between Can't Win for Losing podcast and the Blerd Dad podcast. Boofer T Justice, thank you so much for coming out. I'm going to sign off. Stay right where you are, sir, and I will be back to you, after this. Hey, thank you once again for checking out the Blerd Dad podcast. I have been your host, Glenn Lawrence. Hey, if you liked what you heard, please subscribe, share it with your friends. Tell people about it because we need you and we love you. And I think there's some great information in there. There's some nuggets if you can wean them from all the craziness that we're talking about. Again, it's an unfiltered conversation. It's up to you to filter out what is useful for you and your child and you and your method of fatherhooding, parenting. I just think what we talked about today is great. We talked a lot about respect, taking time for yourself. I think those things are very important. And I really do believe that we're going to raise this kid right. So that's what I got for you today. That's what I got out of the episode. Let me know what you got out of the episode. Go ahead and comment. Also, you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple iTunes. You can find us on, I believe, Stitcher as well. The YouTube will be out, and you can look at us there if you want to see me making weird hand gestures and trying to maintain eye contact with the camera. And if you want to see Boofer's beautiful locks, you can check it out there. Thank you for tuning in once again to another episode of the Blerd Dad Podcast. We can't thank you enough for being listeners. And yeah, that's it. Blerd Dad out.